So, hi, everybody. It's so nice to see all of you. Today, we're going to be discussing exploring Apple Pens. So, we're going to go into kind of what they are and maybe get you interested in getting one if you don't already have one, or just learning something new together. So, to start off, here's a screenshot. So, some of you may be familiar with this product, but they actually have, as Apple typically does, lots of different versions of the same product. So there's a second generation, and then there's a newer one as well. So, a table of contents, so you all know what to expect today. Our lesson will discuss the history of the Apple Pencil, the first generation, second generation, and USB-C Apple Pencils. In addition, the Apple Pencil Pro, and then we're going to look at a video live demonstration together to see it in action. And then, as always, a little conclusion at the end. So in terms of the history of the Apple Pencil, it was first released in 2015, and it was released at the same time as the iPad Pro. And this is because the product was specifically designed to connect to the iPad Pro. In the past, Apple had promoted the pencil towards creativity work and productivity and tested it by using it on Adobe Photoshop and document annotations when it was first coming out. So its main kind of use was towards creativity work and productivity, and that's the reason why Apple actually designed the Apple Pencil. It connects to the Apple product or the iPad through Bluetooth compatibility, and early models use Lightning chargers, while later models use USB-C chargers. So over time and different generations of the Apple Pencil, it's evolved, and that's something we're going to go through today as well. So the first generation Apple Pencil was made with some specific design features, namely pressure sensitivity, angle detections, and low latency for screen marking. It also allowed touch from the pencil and your fingers while rejecting palm touch, so it could differentiate between different surfaces, or I guess parts of your hand or the pencil touching the screen. It also had a magnetic cap covering the Lightning connector for charging. And once you completely charged the Apple Pencil, it would have 12 hours of battery life. The Lightning connector was attached to the pencil, and you could remove the need for a charger cord. The length of the pencil was about 7 inches, and it had a diameter of 8.9 millimeters. So you can imagine this was kind of the first time they put out an Apple Pencil, so there were things that they wanted to change, and we'll see how the first generation differs from the second generation. But first, we're going to talk about device compatibility. If you have a Gen 1 Apple Pencil, it can be used with a few different devices, namely iPad Pros, a few different dimensions, so the 12.9-inch, 10.5-inch, and also the 9.7-inch. Also the iPad Air 3rd generation, the iPad Mini 5th generation, and the iPad 6th through 10th generations. Now, as always, Apple likes to bring out new products and update or upgrade them to be better functioning, have more kind of ways that they can be used, and just improve them altogether. So that's when they came out with the second generation Apple Pencil in 2018. And it was announced alongside the iPad Pro Generation 3. It has a very similar design and specifications to the Gen 1 model, but it does not have a connector, and part of the stylus is flattened to inhibit rolling. So you can imagine a pencil has a round shape, but the base, or kind of one side of it, as you can see here, is flat. So you can lay it down on a table and it's not going to roll away from you. I personally have this Apple Pencil and I find it really great because, again, I can imagine if you had the first generation one, it could be rolling onto the floor, or, just be hard to keep track of it, but this one will just lay flat, which is great. The iPads supported by Gen 2 are physically incompatible with the Apple Gen 1 Pencil because of the change from Lightning connectors to USB-C connectors. So the Generation 1 Apple Pencil, you would pop the end of the pencil off and you'd have to plug it in to charge it. Whereas the Gen 2 pencil charges differently from that, making it easier. So now some of the features that the Apple Pencil Generation 2 gained. Firstly, the pencil no longer had the lightning connector attached. So what I was just speaking about, where you had to kind of pop the end off. If you imagine a real pencil, it would be where the eraser is. So you'd kind of pop that end off, and then you'd have to charge it by plugging in the end. In addition to the better and kind of more convenient charging, Apple Pencil Generation 2 also contains tap-sensitive zones, which enables mapped functions within certain applications. For example, you could maybe like double tap kind of near the tip and it would delete something for you. Or maybe a good way to think about it would be like keyboard shortcuts. You would do something specific with the pencil and it would do a certain function, making it kind of more immersive in whatever work you're doing. In addition, it can be magnetically charged wirelessly from the tablet instead, allowing users to keep track of the pencil's charging. So again, you'd typically have to plug in the Generation 1 into the charging port, but with this one, you just have it magnetized to the side of the iPad and that charges it. So I'm just going to go back one slide just to explain it a bit more because these charging things can be really complicated and confusing. So as I was saying with this flat surface, that is going to magnetize to your iPad and then it'll charge by taking charge from the iPad and it just kind of sits on the side and once it's charged, you can then use it. So in its kind of typical resting position, if you're not using the Apple Pencil, it will charge, meaning you won't have to think so much about charging it because each time you put the iPad down with the pencil, it's going to be charged. And then just a few other details. If you do purchase the Gen 2 online, you can get custom laser engraving added, which is always nice to personalize things. And in terms of its length, it's a bit shorter and it has the same diameter as Generation 1 Apple Pencils. Now, compatibility is also very important. So if you have the Apple Pencil Gen 2, it's compatible with the iPad Pro, 12.9-inch in the 3rd to 6th generations, iPad Pro 11-inch in the 1st to 4th generations, the iPad Air in the 4th and 5th generations, and also the iPad Mini in the 6th generation. And I know this is a lot, so don't worry about, remembering all of these things. We're going to send you a copy of the presentation so then you can just look through them and maybe you'll be able to match, if you have an iPad, which Apple Pencil you would be compatible with. Because there's so many to remember, so don't worry. So now there's also the Apple Pencil USB-C. And this model was released in 2023, so very recently, and it's compatible with iPads that used USB-C connectors. This version is the same as the Apple Pencil Gen 2, but some of the features were removed. Also, the pencil has been changed to be charged by using a USB-C charger. So some of the features that this Apple Pencil has is that it is now USB-C compatible. It supports hover detection on iPads that are supported by the product. It has a side cap instead of a removable cap, like the 1st generation Apple Pencil. Some of the features in comparison to Gen 2 that the USB-C pencil does not have are pressure sensitivity, magnetic pairing, and charging. So remember the flat surface that the Generation 2 has where it would just magnetize to the iPad. This one doesn't have that feature. It also doesn't have double tap and it doesn't have free laser engraving. In terms of length, it's a bit longer than the 2nd generation one, and it has a smaller diameter. Now, some compatibility for this particular Apple Pencil model. You can use it with iPad Pros, both the 12.9-inch and 11-inch, and many of the generations that are listed here: the iPad Air 4th and 5th generations, iPad Mini 6th generation, and iPad 10th generation. And now, finally, the last model we're going to be discussing today is the Apple Pencil Pro. It was released just a few months ago in May of 2024, and it has the exact same size as the Apple Pencil USB-C and the same appearance as the Apple Pencil Gen 2. So you can kind of imagine it as a hybrid between the Gen 2 and the Apple Pencil USB-C. It does have some added features that the Apple Pencil Gen 2 had as well, and also some new features. Currently, this is the latest generation of Apple Pencils released, so if you're looking for the newest model, then you can definitely look into this while also cross-checking the compatibility based on the iPad that you have, or maybe you're wanting to purchase. And here's a photo of this new Apple Pencil Pro. In terms of its features, it has the magnet charge compatibility, just like Apple Pencil 2nd generation, which for me is my favorite feature of my Apple Pencil. It also has free laser engraving available, new pressure sensitivity, so that will allow you to pull up a color palette for brushes when squeezed. That's kind of more for if you're working artistically, but that can also apply to different functions in different applications. It also has a gyroscope, which was added to adjust the direction of the brush, a haptic engage that will provide vibration feedback to the pencil, and it can even be detected with Apple's Find My network if lost, which is always handy, especially if you commonly misplace things or you're super busy out and about and maybe you forgot it somewhere one day. You can track it down. And now for its compatibility, you can use it with iPads that came out in 2024. So that's the iPads Pro 13 and 11 inch, and then also the iPad Air 13 and 11 inch. So finally, to end off, we want to thank you so much for watching and joining us today. If you'd like to learn this lesson with a Cyber Seniors mentor, please go to the website or call the phone number to register for a one-on-one phone session. And we do also host weekly tech drop-in sessions from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursdays, where everybody is more than welcome to join with any tech-related questions.